Welcome, y'all. Welcome back for Ready to Love Miami. And this is going to be a recap, review, commentary on the interview with Crystal EXO with Brandy and Mike. If all of you have been watching, I've been doing reviews on all these interviews as we get to know these people, the cast members outside of the show, to see if they got good edits, bad edits, get to know a little bit about them. And this time we got a couples interview. This was a first. I don't even remember any of the other. I don't know. Did Clifton and Joy do a couples interview last year? I can't even remember. But if they did, I don't think I watched it. But I do enjoy the fact that Brandy and Mike did an interview together. I really liked the couple vibe because I think it also gave us a chance to see the chemistry between them and to even for our own eyes to make sure, is this real? I think for me, I've always been feeling like it's been real. I feel like it was real from the very beginning. If you all remember, in the beginning of the show, two of my favorite men on the show were Mike and Swayze. They were my favorite men in the beginning on the show because what I really valued with Mike was I actually valued his experience as being a married man and the way that I thought he was showing up coming to the show. And for a long time, I resisted going to his Instagram because y'all were starting to tell me stuff. And I was like, I don't want to go to Instagram. It's going to ruin it. And I really just wanted to sort of form my own opinion about Mike from what I saw on the show. And the minute I went to the Instagram, it did something to me. It really did do something to me. And I started to look at Mike with one eye open and one eye closed. But in my gut, my intuition, I always still sort of liked Mike. I really did. I know y'all probably disappointed me, but I did. I liked him. Even with that Instagram, I thought, I don't know, I still really like him. I think there's a part of him that's real. So seeing them in this interview, I was happy to see more of those warmer feelings that I had about Mike in terms of, I think he's real with Brandy. I think he really does like her. That's how I felt after I watched this interview. I am really, really, really hopeful for this couple. And a few of the things where I was a little bit concerned about Brandy, I think a few of the things got cleared up, which I'll talk about, that makes me feel even more comfortable with them as a couple. I know there's a whole lot more skeptics out here, but we're going to go through some of these points with Mike where there are a lot of question marks around from other people, and I'll tell you what I think about that. But before I get started, definitely don't forget to subscribe, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and also drop down the comments and let me know what you think about the interview with Crystal EXO. If you watched it, or if you didn't watch it, definitely share your comments with me about what you hear me talk about here today. That'll work too. But also what I like to talk about is that I always go through and I say, did they get a good edit and did they get a bad edit? And I've done this for each of the different cast members on the show. For Brandy, I'll say this for Brandy. I don't think she got a bad edit, but I will say the part about that I think was where she was given the bad edit the most was that they really tried to make her seem like she was naive. Or that she was, I don't know. I think they tried to go a little bit further because I think a lot of it was wrapped around the Kayla stuff. Like she just didn't know and she's just believing everything Mike says. I think they tried to make her seem more naive than she is. Let's just say that. I think there's an innocence to Brandy, and it's actually one of the reasons why I like her. And in fact, Brandy is probably one of my favorites on the show. I don't know. I'm thinking, who would I like more than Brandy on the show? I don't think there's anyone. I think Brandy was the one I liked the most on the show. Even though I always used to say Brandy got a little ghetto in her, I still say that. She loved that Henny and Coke. I still say it, but that has nothing to do with how I actually feel and think about Brandy. Brandy was actually one of my favorites on the show. One is because I just think she's a sweet person. I just think that she's kind. I just think that there were so many moments in this whole season where Brandy could have clapped back and she could have said some really nasty things about people, not only men or women. And I think that she didn't do it. And I think that came natural to her. I don't think she had to hold herself back. I think that she is just naturally has that sweet, bubbly disposition. She's positive. Even when other women were saying nasty things, she refrained. She didn't say anything at all, or she said nice things. And she often gave a lot of people the benefit of the doubt. And it's one of the reasons why I really like Brandy. In fact, I actually found myself becoming protective over Brandy, like I was some overprotective auntie. Because once I found out with Mike about the whole Instagram exotic dancer, like he says he's not a stripper, but let me just say male entertainer, I was like, I hope this man does not break Brandy's heart, because I was like, wait a minute, I really hope this isn't who he is. So I actually probably became a little bit more protective over Brandy. But through and through, they're still together. They're still happy. You could tell that they actually are friends. Like you could actually see not just two people who are like sleeping together, having sex and going and having a good time. They actually look like friends. It's so funny because at one point in time, they talked about Katie, and I got her name right now, y'all. Y'all been telling me how I've been messing up her name. They were talking about Katie and Swayze, and they referred to them as a Bobby and Whitney. I almost fell out my chair listening to that, because you know what? That actually does sum up those two. It is like a Bobby Whitney love affair. Who knows where that's going to end? I hope it ends well. I hope Katie is Whitney. I hope she can keep it together well enough to make it past that stage. But that was funny. But I'm happy to see that Mike and Brandy are still together, and it looks like they worked out the flight attendant thing, because it looks like she didn't say it all the way, but it sounds like Brandy has changed her schedule somewhat. I don't know if she's home every single night, but it sounds like she probably has made some tweaks to her schedule, enough so it's not to the point where she may be gone 4 or 5 nights out of the week. It sounds like she's home a little bit more. It sounds like Mike is happy with that. And he cleared up the fact that he would have never wanted her to stop doing that anyway, because he don't want to mess with her money, because he don't want her to mess with his money. And he quite cleared up that even if Brandy wanted him to stop doing his male entertainment, he wouldn't do it. And she hasn't asked him to do it. So he cleared up the fact that he doesn't do anything nude. He always has his clothes on. He says he does paint and sips. He walks around. He talks to women. He entertains women. He even said he's gone out on one-on-one dates where men have paid for him to go out on a date with their wife. And I believe it. I absolutely believe it, because I know that there are a lot of women out here who are lonely and who would hire a Mike just to sit across the dinner table with him and look at him. There are a lot of women who would hire him to go out and he escort them to some type of function. I don't know what kind of functions they're going to when he didn't know Pinot Grigio, though. He need to get some better escort dates. Mike, get the escort dates where they're taking you to places and you drinking fancy wine and hors d'oeuvres, and you would know what Pinot Grigio is. But when they were sitting there for this interview, y'all, they were sipping on something. I don't know what it was. They had it like in a little wine glass, but it was red. So I don't know if they were drinking some type of red wine. Maybe they bumped up their game to like a Merlot or a Bordeaux or something. Who knows? But he made clear like it ain't Pinot Grigio. That was funny. That was absolutely pretty funny. But it wasn't Henny either. It wasn't no Hennessy either. So I don't know what they done up their game together. They learning together. I like that. And so good for them. But one of the things that Mike talked about, he talked about that before this show, he already had a big fan base. So he was really used to the social media attention and all that. And he said in the beginning, he kind of wiped clean his whole Instagram, archived it, because he didn't want Brandy to see it. And then she had been hearing from the other ladies that they were calling him Magic Mike. And she was like, what's Magic Mike? What's Magic Mike? And so finally he archived all the pictures and showed her and explained to her what he did. And she admitted, she said, you know what? Hey, at first I was like, what? You're going to have to stop that. And then after a while, she became more comfortable with it and she was okay with it once she got to realize, oh, this is really just a job. This is really about money. And he does have his other job, which I guess that's the majority of his work, which is his appliance repair business. And this appearance business is just like his side hustle. So there you go. That was the explanation. Brandy's okay with it. And so you know where I am right now? I'm okay with it. If Brandy's okay with it, I'm okay with it. And as long as he's treating her right, I'm good. As long as he's not cheating on her with none of these women he's going to doing a male escorts, whatever he's doing. Hey, I'm happy with it too. One thing I say about relationships, everyone has to form their own relationships. You can't be looking at what someone else does in their relationship and say, I'm going to do exactly what they do. In the end, you as a couple have to sit down and you have to figure out what makes us happy. That's why sometimes you can't even share all the details about what your marriage is or your relationship is, because people will judge it and say it's not for them. Well, it's fine if it's not for you, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work for us. So it's working for them. The way she's adjusted with her flight schedule is working for them. His male entertainment is working for them. Brandy still says she wants a child. I did notice she said at least one. She wants one. So who knows? Maybe that has become the compromise that Mike said maybe one, not two. Because I know in my heart of hearts, Mike isn't trying to look and have no 2 and 3 more kids when he's already got 3 kids, like he said, in double digits. He ain't trying to start over with another 2 or 3 kids. Kids are expensive. And Mike's body and all this male exotic dancing ain't going to last forever. So he's like, wait a minute. I might can dance, not dance. Well, I might can entertain for another 5 or 6 years for these 3 I got. But this body ain't going to last enough for you to be having 2 and 3 kids, Brandy. This body going to give out. They better get it while they can. And who knows, now that Mike has found this a love of his life, Brandy, his business might go down. Because let me tell you, he's selling a dream. He's selling a fantasy. And a lot of these women, the fantasy is that he's single and that they could possibly catch him. That's what a lot of women think. I'm going to shoot my shot and I can catch him. And that's part of the fantasy when you're single and not married. If they find out that he's got a girlfriend, or if he marries Brandy, that might change his business, because I'm not quite sure a husband is going to want to hire you to go out with his wife and you married to another woman. You're going to lose some business, Mike, if you marry Brandy. So you're going to have to consider that. I hope it don't mess up on whether or not he marries Brandy. I hope he chooses love and not this money thing, because it's definitely going to mess up with some of his money a little bit. I guarantee you that. But one of the things I really loved about Mike when he talked about Brandy was the fact of how he, we often call hunters, how he hunted Brandy. And I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean in a good way, how he pursued her. And how he locked in on her very, very soon. And he knew right away that she was the one out of all the women that he wanted. And in fact, this locking in on Brandy right away, I believe, was also what caused the problems with Dominica. Because when you hear Mike's story about why Dominica was all so ruffled at the reunion, which I was too. I was very ruffled by Dominica. I'm gonna get to the strawberry part, but I was very ruffled with Dominica challenging Mike on why you didn't give me a chance. I'm from your neighborhood. I'm from your high school. We know all the same people. And there was really this sort of sense of almost like an entitlement that Dominica was talking about, like she should have been the person he pursued over Brandy. And I was like, I don't know, just because you went to high school, you're from the same neighborhood, I don't understand why she's so mad that Mike didn't choose her. But Mike told the story of the fact that when he first came to the pool party, he was one of the last men that they let in, which we've heard this story from a lot of people, that they staggered the cast in. I thought they all showed up at the same time, but now we find out they staggered them, had call times for them separately. Kayla mentions that she was one of the last ones to come on, and now we hear Mike saying that he was one of the last men to come in. And what he says was that when he did come in, one of the first women that he talked to was Dominica. Okay. Dominica approached him first. And what he says was he was so nervous coming into the pool party because he says he's shy, y'all. Even though he does all this exotic male entertainment, he says he's shy. I guess he's kind of like a Beyonce. You know how Beyonce, Sasha Fierce, she has an alter ego. Here you see Beyonce on stage performing. She's Sasha Fierce. But then she talks about how shy she is. Same thing with who else is like Janet Jackson? Janet Jackson is sexual and sensual, but then she speaks like a mouse. So we have a Mike here who says he's actually more of a shy person. I don't think he's quite like a Beyonce, but okay, Mike. Maybe he's maybe not as assertive, maybe, or outgoing as maybe we would think he is, considering he does exotic dancing or exotic entertainment. But I wouldn't necessarily call him shy. I don't think he's shy. But anyway, one of the things he said, he was nervous when he was coming in from the pool party, and the first person he talked to was Dominica. And then he says he was so nervous, he was talking to Dominica, and what he says is he admits that he wasn't really listening to Dominica. She was talking, but he wasn't listening to her. And what he was really doing was he was looking around the room at who else was in the room. Now, I'm going to tell you, I believe right then and there, that's the part where Dominica is saying that he never gave her a chance. Because I think what happened was men are visual, which we all know that. I don't know why Dominica doesn't know it, but men are visual, because Dominica was talking about things that they have in common of why he should choose her. And I think, well, you ain't met the first threshold. That is, he's got to be physically attracted to you. Who cares if you have things in common? When it comes to men, if there's no physical attraction, they're not even going to get to the things you have in common. And I think what Dominica recognized was she met a man, she met him first. And before she could even really start to talk to him about who she was or who he was, she already saw his disinterest. She saw his disinterest because he wasn't paying attention to her. And I think when she came at that reunion and she was bursting at the seams of how, why did you overlook me so soon? I think what she was talking about, not just throughout the day, she was talking about in the very early conversations with Mike. She was dismissed early. And I don't know why she doesn't know this, that she was dismissed because he wasn't physically attracted to her. Women should know that men go off a physical attraction. And just because a man's not physically attracted to you doesn't mean you're not physically attractive, okay? Because people have their types. And she just wasn't necessarily a Mike's type. Does it mean that some other man wouldn't be physically attracted to Dominica? No. This thing about women who believe, who they can't take rejection, because I guess they feel that all men need to be attracted to them. Get over it, women. All men are not attracted to you, okay? And you don't need all men to be attracted to you. You only need a certain man to be attracted to you. And that's like to worry about. But this idea that we want all men to be attracted to us, it's ridiculous. It's the same reasoning behind when women get mad when men go out with women of other races because they're so-called attracted to other races. What do you care? It's so many men out here, other men. You're attractive to someone. You don't need every man to find you attractive. There are other men out here who will find you attractive. You don't need to be mad or waste your energy or your time or your frowns or your discontent or whatever you want to say it over men who don't find you attractive for whatever reason, whether it's because you're dark or you're light or you're short or you're tall or you got short hair, you got long hair. It doesn't matter. Don't waste your energy and get all riled up and puffed up over men who you're not their type. And that's how I feel what happened with Dominica. She got all wrapped up with Mike because she's not Mike's type. And she confronted him on it. And what for? And then this whole story about the whole strawberry thing, I didn't believe it when it happened. Because in order for me to believe that story that Dominica told, that so-called Mike was fooling around with the strawberry lady, I would have to believe a couple of things. I would have to believe that this woman, if there was this real woman, a strawberry woman, would make a strawberry package, beautiful package for Mike, knowing that he's going to be taking it to another lady on the show and saying, I'm ready to love you. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't believe a woman would do that. I just don't believe it. I believe they're side chick women. I believe all those types of things. But would that woman then participate in making a gift for you to take to another woman on a show? No, I don't believe that. That's why I don't believe that story. What Dominica said, that Mike was fooling around with the strawberries, and it's the same lady that made the strawberries for Brandi. Get out of here. I'm not believing that story. Not at all. Not one bit. And I thought that the exposing of the story, I thought was just inappropriate. I just didn't know what was the point of bringing up that story when obviously Brandi and Mike are a couple. What is the point of bringing up such a dirty story to Mike now, if not to spoil his connection with Brandi? I thought there was more to it because I just thought it was such an out of place story. I didn't think that during the season we saw any beef between Mike and Dominica. So I also didn't understand what was the point of bringing that story. Even if you thought it was a story, even if you believed the story, I didn't understand the intent of bringing it up. Because for me, for a woman to bring up a story like that, you've got to recognize that you're just not going to hurt Mike. You're also going to hurt Brandi. And so what I have to ask myself is, why would you want to say something just to get at Mike that you also know would hurt Brandi? Because like I said, it's the same thing I had with Kayla. I don't understand how your get back is so strong that it overlooks all these other things. Like I said, why is your get back at a certain person, Mike or anyone else, so strong that you overlook all the other damage that your story would do? And with Kayla, her get back at Mike was so strong, she did damage to her own reputation. And then Dominica did the same thing. Her get back was so strong at Mike, it actually didn't make Dominica look good. I don't think Dominica came off in a good light at all. It didn't make her look better. Even if you said, well, it didn't make her look bad, it didn't make her look better. It didn't help her case. No one sat up there and said, oh yeah, Mike, you did miss out on a wonderful woman. Nobody said that after Dominica's performance. Nobody said, oh yeah, I do think better about Dominica. Yeah, Mike, you really missed out on something. All Dominica kind of really did do was kind of prove the case a little bit of Mike, what he said when he said, I don't want no loud woman. I want my woman to be seen and not heard. I want that when my woman walks in a room, everybody's heads turn and look at her because she's so beautiful or she's so whatever. Not they're turning around and looking at her because she's the loud one come in the room. She didn't really actually help her case. She made her case worse. And that's what I'm saying. Why risk it? Why go out on a limb to try to make him look bad when in a lot of ways you kind of did damage to your own character? Because actually before this, I really didn't have any sort of yay or nay or yes or this about Dominica. But that performance she did at the reunion, it actually didn't make me look at her in a better light. I'm sorry to say, it really didn't. Now I'm gonna tell you all this other thing. I have come to another, I believe, like another light bulb moment for me with Kayla and Mike. Now, I feel like I pretty much know who Kayla is now. I pretty much know what Kayla's motivation was on this show. Kayla was all about the competition, and I believe all that competing to be chosen by Randall and Mike and going up against Jamala and Brandi and every other woman out here is all about her competition and persona that she is. I think intuitively enough, Kayla knew that Mike wasn't necessarily a good fit for her lifestyle and everything. I think Kayla knew that intuitively. But I think Kayla's pursuit and competitive nature in her continue to make her pursue not only Mike, but also Randall. Because now we have everyone who's confirmed it. Randall has confirmed that he went to Kayla at the retreat and told her that Jamala was his number one. Kayla confirmed that conversation happened. Okay. Mike has said that he went to Kayla and told Kayla, listen, I'm not choosing you. I'm really going to be choosing a Brandi. And also Kayla confirmed that. And Mike said he went to Mike said he went to Kayla and said that after that pool date. Okay. Then we know, contrary to what Mike says, and even Randall says, we didn't lead Kayla on because what they're saying is we were upfront with her and honest with her that she was always our number two. So you can't really say we led her on because she knew the truth, but she chose to continue to participate in the game. So then I would say, which I was saying all season, that they were using Kayla. That's what I've said. They used Kayla to stay on the show, to have an extra vote from Kayla. Kayla wants us to believe that she was also using them to be on the show and for clout. Okay, got it. But I wholeheartedly believe Kayla got caught up. Kayla got caught up, not with Randall. She got caught up with Mike. I absolutely believe it. I think it started off as a game of her wanting to win. And I think along the way, Kayla got caught up with Mike. And then you say, well, did they really kiss? I'm going to say this. Brandy, hold your ears. Brandy, hold your ears. I absolutely believe that Mike at some point in time kissed Kayla. Now, was it a tongue down situation? No, I don't believe it. I don't necessarily believe that. Could it have been a pet? Could it have been something? I do believe that because I know what I heard when they had that pool date and Kayla was like, I'm going to come by and see you after this. She said it in a way which made me think that it's been done before. And now that we know all these couples have been dating off camera, because what Brandi and Mike talk about on this episode or in this interview was that because production never set them up on a date, they were dating the entire time off camera. So Mike says, when I went out a date with Kayla or I went out a date with anyone, later on that evening, I'm going out with Brandy. The two of them went out off camera because production was doing exactly what Kayla said. Kayla even said it. Kayla said she wanted to go out on more dates with Randall, but they kept setting her up with Mike. That's what she said. They kept setting it up with Mike. And Mike is confirming it. He's saying that all his dates, they never would let him go out with Brandy. Maybe they had one date or two dates the whole time. Because I think what production did was they thought we would rather see the messiness couples than to actually see a love story. I really would have loved to see the love story between Brandy and Mike actually play out on the camera. I would have loved to see that. I didn't necessarily have to see the messiness between Mike and Kayla. I didn't have to see that. Somehow, I guess Ready to Love doesn't think that love stories sell. Somehow, Ready to Love thinks that messiness is more of a draw than a love story. Are love stories too boring for people now? Is that why they shy away from them? Do they really not want to show us a love story and they think we won't watch a love story, that what we want to watch is the sort of the messiness? I don't know. I think we're sophisticated enough listeners or viewers that we can have both. But it is definitely apparent, because it's been told by a lot of people on the show, that there was a concerted effort of the producers to keep the couples away from each other, the ones that they knew had paired up quickly. And we know that Mike and Brandy paired up quickly. And so the producers, maybe they said, well, we want you to go out with other people. But these guys had made up their mind. These producers know that these men were stuck on these other women. Mike was stuck on Brandy. But I want to get back around, long story. I done taken the long route. I want to get back to the motivation for Mike continuing to do what he was doing with Kayla, because he might have said he wasn't leading her on because he was truthful, but we know what we all saw on camera. And when Mike was talking to Crystal EXO, there was a point in the interview where Mike got really riled up about Kayla, and he almost just started just letting it all hang out when he started talking about Kayla. And he was talking about some of the interviews she's doing and some of the things she was saying, but he was also talking about who Kayla is and her behavior. And it's what I said. It's why I said Kayla makes she's ripe for a side chick, because Kayla is competitive. But let me tell you what the part which I now believe was Mike's motivation. Because I know it was never that he liked Kayla. I know he didn't ever like Kayla. I knew Kayla was never even close to being his number one. Never even close to it. I think Mike decided, I'm going to teach this little girl a lesson. That's it in a nutshell. Because what he explains is, I told Kayla that she's not going to get chosen by me. I was upfront and I was honest. What Kayla decided to do was, I can make you change your mind. I can turn you out. Look at me. Look at all this. I can turn you out. Now, listen to me, people. This is what I'm going to say about the Mikes of the world and even the Justices of the world. When you start meeting men, all you young girls dating your 30s, listen to me real quickly. Okay. Once you start meeting men in their 40s, 40 and up, if these men have been having sex with women since they are 15 and 16 years old, we're talking about now 26 years of women. Mike been married for a whole 10 years with a woman. Okay, he had in-house regularly, whatever you want to say. Once these men get to their 40s, okay, and wait till they get to their 50s, they are done with women who think that your physical is enough to get their attention. They've had all that they can handle. So when you come up them, and this is what I think happened when Kayla came in here, because we all know the bravado of Kayla now. We know the self-esteem, the arrogance, all this of Kayla. Everybody's seen it plenty of times. We know how she rolls. When you've got a 30-year-old woman coming up to a 42-year-old man like Mike, who's around women regularly, he's a male entertainer. He's seen all a kind of women. The best of women have shot their shot at Mike. Okay. Now you got Kayla coming in thinking, I got what it takes to turn you out and to turn you around. And I think Mike, in a lot of ways, took offense to it. I think what he looked at says, do you really think I'm that shallow? And do you think I'm that, what else would be the word? Weak, whatever you want to say, that you gonna turn me out? You think you gonna turn me out? I think Mike said, I might turn you out. And let me tell you, I think he said, shoot your best shot. That's what I think Mike said. Shoot your best shot, Kayla. Shoot your best shot, because Kayla went in hard on Mike and she got some encouragement on that. And I think she got some encouragement on that from Mike, but not because he was interested in her, was because he wanted to teach her a lesson. And let me tell you, when he talked about her on this episode, on this interview with Crystal EXO, you could hear this level of, I don't want to call it contempt, but you could hear this level of, is kind of like, girl, you ain't all that. You're not all that. I really do believe there's a part of Mike that when he told Kayla, he was really only had eyes for Brandy. And Kayla insisted and said, I could turn you out. And she really started to lay it on thick, because, you know, that's probably what spurred Kayla on even more, because the side chicks rejection makes them go harder. OK, and you can't get rid of them. OK, that's what I said. Once they lock in and they realize they want to beat the woman, they want to beat the wife, they want to beat the girlfriend, the husband, the boyfriend can't hardly get the woman off of them. And I believe that's what Kayla became. But I think the motivation of Mike was, I think in a lot of ways, I think with Kayla, it also became sort of like a competition between the two of them. That, I don't know if you guys ever saw that movie, Two Can Play That Game. I think that when the game became Kayla's thinking she's going to turn Mike out, that Mike said, Two can play that game, and I can play it a whole lot better than you, because I'm 42, you 30, and as much as you think you running these streets out here in Miami, I've been running these streets for a lot longer and can do a lot more damage than you. And I think that's why Mike handled Kayla the way he did, because there's no way Mike's gonna tell me that he wasn't playing some sort of game with Kayla and he didn't lead her on. He absolutely was, whether it was for her to vote for him or not. And that's what I thought it was before. But when I heard him talk, I realized it was more than that. It was more than just stringing her along so she could vote for him. I think it was more than that. I think it was the fact that Kayla thought that she was such hot shit and she was going to turn men out. And Mike became the one that said, I'm going to teach you a lesson. And he says, I'm going to turn you out. And guess what he did? He did turn her out. And that's what she didn't count on. So all this stuff Kayla's talking about, she was just doing to play the game and still, no, she wasn't. I think initially she was, but she got turned out by Mike. She got turned out by Mike. But you know what? I think it's all water on the bridge. The way I look at it now, like I said, I do think he kissed Kayla. I don't know what kind of kiss it was, but I think something happened. I think it was some type of kiss that happened. But no, so what, Brandy? Cover your ears, Brandy. So what, Brandy? Cover your ears. I generally feel that Mike really cares for Brandy. I liked their energy together. They were very touchy-feely while they sat next to each other. I like the fact that they let each other finish their sentences. They didn't interrupt each other. I think they actually equally have equal energy. I think they're both like, they can have fun and be outgoing, but I like to see how they were in conversation. They listened to each other. They let each other talk. They let each other finish their sentences. I just like the vibe that I was getting for them. And I'm really hopeful that this also will be another love story, a coming out of Ready to Love. I feel hopeful about it. One thing I know about men who've single, never married versus men who've been married, and I think I had this conversation with someone down in my chats, is that when you're dealing with a man that's been married, one thing you know about that man is that he knows how to pull the trigger on getting married. Sometimes people think divorced men are less of a catch than men who are single, never been married. And I actually believe I believe differently. I believe that because that man has been in love, and he's been in love to the point that he was able to pull the trigger and ask a woman to marry him, tells me that man knows what needs to happen to get down on one knee, propose, and be a whole husband, as opposed to a man. So between the two, for me, when I see men who are 45, 46, and never married, they scare me more than men who've been married before and who are divorced. And if you look at all the couples that are coming out of Ready to Love, all of these men are divorced men. They are men who have pulled the trigger before, who don't need to waste a lot of time, who have figured out what they want and can identify women quickly. You've got Mike dating Brandy, which right now I'm considering this a serious relationship. You got Clifton and Joy. No matter what you think of them as a couple, you've got Clifton and Joy, an ex-married man. In fact, Clifton has been married several times. I think this might be his third marriage coming up. Him, and then you have Rashid and Simone, and Rashid was married before and has 2 kids. I believe that married men or divorced men who have been married before and who are married for a substantial amount of time or some time are actually easier to get to the altar than single men that have never been married. Okay? That's what I've always believed that. So in that respect, I can believe the love story of Mike because I think these men, married men, come to decisions faster. They're not the type of men that need to date women for 7, 8, 9, 10 years before they're married. They don't need a lot of time. So I actually can believe this love story with Mike. I don't believe he's playing games. I think he really cares for Brandy. I think he's in love with Brandy. I think Brandy's in love with him. And I'm really hopeful that these two will make it. But anyway, y'all, that is my review of this interview. What do y'all think about all the stuff I just said? Because I did say a lot. And what did you think about the interview? Drop down in the comments and let me know. Talk to you later. Bye.